There are 3 chairs in front.
You good? Thank you. All right, good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 3 chairs up here in the front. There's one right over here. I want to call this meeting to order. My name is Tom Daly. I'll be your moderator for this evening. I'd ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I'm sure none of you are wondering why you're here tonight, but I'm going to tell you anyway. State of Vermont, Bennington County, Town of Shasberry, February 11th, 2025, special town meeting warning. Shasberry residents qualified to vote at the special town meeting are hereby notified and warned to meet in person at the Shasberry Elementary School at 150 Buck Hill Road or virtually via Zoom on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. to hold a public information hearing. Upon completion of the information session, the meeting will move to a town vote for the article listed below. Shasberry residents may submit an application to the town clerk to have their names added to the voter checklist no later than 12 p.m. Monday, February 10th, 2025, or at the Shasberry Elementary School, 150 Buck Hill Road on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. to be eligible to vote on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 at the special town meeting. You cannot vote at the town meeting via Zoom. Business to be transacted from the floor on Monday, February 11th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Shasberry Elementary School at 150 Buck Hill Road shall be to hear the reports of the town officers and take action thereon, to wit, to determine shall the town of Shasberry expend $375,000 on the purchase of the former Shasberry Medical Associates building at 677 Route 7A, Shasberry, and an additional $178,486.08 on the renovation and repair needed to make the building appropriate for municipal offices. This warning was dated at Shasberry, the 10th day of January 2024, and it was signed by the members of the Town of Shasberry Select Board. Okay. Housekeeping. Fire exits are on both sides of me. One is marked. That one's not, but there's a door right through there you can get to, as well as out the back. What I will do is, in a moment, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to open up the process on the meeting. And the motion's going to be essentially a restatement of what the warning says. That is, shall the town of Shasberry expend, yada, yada, yada. Once I do that, I'll recognize the select board because they're going to want to make a presentation. So essentially, I get the motion, I get a second, I open up the floor, but the select board gets recognized first. They'll do their presentation, no questions or comments during their presentation. At the conclusion of it, we'll take a brief break, a 2-minute break, water over there, bathrooms, fruit bars, energy bars. And then I'll ask you to come back when we'll actually have time for the questions, the comments, the concerns, the debate, and so on and so forth, until we reach a point where the Assembly is ready to vote, at which point we would vote on the article. When When you want to speak, you raise your hand, you're recognized by me. Please direct your questions and comments and such to me. That's the formal way of doing it. There's no debate amongst yourselves and such. What's going to happen is you're going to be asking these folks your questions and everything. The formal way is it's directed at me and then I look at one of them, but I don't think we need it to happen quite that way, unless things get out of hand, which I got an exit right here, so I'll go. Okay, where I'm at right now is I'm going to ask someone on the floor to please make a motion that the town of Shasberry expend $375,000 on the purchase of the former Shasberry Medical Associates building at 677 Route 7A, Shasberry, and an additional $178,486.08 on the renovation and repair needed to make the building appropriate for municipal offices. I need a motion to that effect. I have one, and I have a second. Okay. Would you like to introduce, this is Naomi Miller. She is the chairman of our select board, and I'm going to ask her to go down the line and introduce everybody, and then make your presentation as you'd like to.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm so glad to see so many people here. Thanks for coming. The select board here, Martha Cornwell, Mike Chianowski, Brad Pico, Tony Kulikowski, our town administrator, Paula Eichen, and our Community Center Development Committee. I'm going to immediately turn this over to the Community Center Development Committee, which will be, in fact, the body that is making the presentation. After that, this entire body, after the break, will take questions, answer concerns, and engage with that. So I'm now presenting Marie Watson. Yep, and that mic will do it.
And it's on. Hi, my name is Marie Watson. My husband and I have lived in Shaftesbury for 50 years, raising our 6 children. I want to introduce the purpose of the Community Center Development Committee. This committee was formed in the spring of 2024 as an ad hoc committee from the former Cole Hall and Town Green committees. Members of our committee include co-chairs Zoe Cotras-Curl, she's from the Planning Commission, Paula Eichen, who's our town administrator, Sarah Costin is from the Recreation Committee, Marlene Hall, most of you probably know as a Cole Hall staff representative. Ben Benedict is a citizen architect. Joan Dornhofer is a citizen representative, and myself, I'm a citizen representative. We were charged with making recommendations to the select board regarding the use of the ARPA, or the American Rescue Plan Act, monies for the planning and development for a community center using the town-owned properties near Cole Hall. Town residents responded to a survey, and the results suggested the need to create a town green, a community center, and the potential for workforce housing. The CCDC reviewed Shaftesbury's residents' survey suggestions of places to connect with their community, such as the town green, places where community events could be held for young and old. For those that have been around for a few years, you might remember one of the events was a hoedown. And this was back in 2007. We had another event called Celebrating Shaftesbury's 250th, and that was in 2011. So we have had a couple of events in our town that included the entire community. Many Shaftesbury residents have shared with me precious memories from these town-wide events of the past. Over the past 6 months, our committee has met weekly to discuss and research the best plan for Shaftesbury's future. Zoe will now present the process of our committee has gone through over the past 8 months.
Hey everybody, my name is Zoe. Marie was very put together. I might be less so you're gonna have to bear with me. But I've got a PowerPoint here for you all that Jen Hawley, who's an esteemed member of the Cole Hall staff, is gonna put up for us to take a look at. I guess I'll just say slide when it's time for a slide. So slide. All right, so this is just a little bit of an overview. So we're going to talk about our purpose and our overview. We're going to talk about a narrative behind why we're all here today together. And also we're going to talk about the vote. When we talk about the vote, we're also going to talk about the rationale behind what this Community Center Development Committee is recommending, upon which you all will decide, because you're the town. So let's move on to our next slide. A couple of these next slides are going to kind of cover what Marie was already talking about. All right, so we've got to figure out some sizing here, because we're definitely not, we're figuring it out. All right, so the CCDC, like you heard, is an ad hoc committee. It's formed in the footsteps of the Cole Hall Committee and the Town Green Committee. So this committee is comprised of citizen members like Ben Benedict and Jen Dornhofer, and then sitting town committee members like myself from the Planning Commission, Sarah Kosten from the Recreation Committee, Naomi, who is a non-voting member but represents the Select Board. We were charged with making recommendations to the town, to the Select Board regarding Cole Hall and the town's request for a community center based on these various surveys. This is a brief overview of the members. You've already, next slide. Yeah, you've already heard this, but just putting the names up there in front of you. This presentation will be available on the town's website, so if you'd like to take a review later, or for anyone else in the Zoom audience. So let's walk through why we're here today. So looking at a timeline, as Marie mentioned, the Shaftesbury American Rescue Plan Act Committee, which is the ARPA committee, sent a survey to residents asking how the town should spend the ARPA money. Residents showed that they would like a community meeting space in the Center of Commerce. This was sent via mail. Oh, next slide. This slide, yeah, this is the one. So that's the first one, 2023. So then the Shaftesbury EDC, which is the Economic Development Committee, released a survey regarding the ARPA Committee's recommendation, which is money should be used to turn Cole Hall and its immediate surroundings into a community center and town green. So respondents to that follow-up survey said that they had a desire for a meeting/event space, offerings for seniors and youth, as well as a commercial warming kitchen. So here we are. I mean, now it's 2025, but just kind of recently. But the CCD was created in the wake of these things. Next slide. So these are the results. This is all available on the town website, and there's more commentary on this in the Bennington Banner. That sort of stuff has been distributed widely and is available for review. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to the Select Board about how this kind of data was created and how recipients responded. So moving on to the proposed uses of a community center for Shaftesbury. Next slide. My bad. It's in front of me, so. So the first thing that we really heard a want for is a meeting space, which would be a shared space for community gatherings and events, whatever that may mean. And this is something that you all would dictate. This could be knit nights. This could be, I don't know, ROTC meetings. I'm not really sure. That would be up to you all. And then as well as offerings for seniors and youth. So this would be something that we would probably come up with like more direct planning for, programming, this sort of thing. And then as well as services. And so these would be sort of services from providers across a space within the healthcare kind of like space. So this would be, eye and foot clinics, this might be free mental health clinics, and these are all things that we've had people express interest that they would like to provide to the community at no cost. And this would be something that would, follow a routine schedule to benefit the community and offer services that other people within our, township might not be able to access otherwise. The other thing that we would like to provide is a warming kitchen. And this is sort of like something that was within the survey, which would be something that Meals on Wheels could do for us, and they've pledged to provide lunch several times, which is 2 times, I think, right now, to residents weekly. I know that right now there is service, but this would be different because it would be in person, it would be more communal, and it would create and foster a larger sense of belonging for people who might want to participate in that kind of thing. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the discovery process as we move through this as a community center development committee. So we started meeting in April on a bi-weekly schedule, and it ramped up pretty quickly. We started meeting once a week because we really wanted to see what the right move was here for how to move forward with everybody's, best interest in mind. Next slide. Oh, you're already here. Look at you. So we started talking about how to build a community center, which, as I'm sure many of you know who've ever tried to build anything, are very expensive. So we started to cost out a modular build. We met with representatives from modular companies that came. They spoke to us at Cole Hall directly. We read studies about modular structures, partially because I am deeply anti-modular, which turns out to be, just a prejudice. We priced out a building of roughly 2,500 square feet. This is not included here, but every time that we priced this out, we came out to like $1.5 million for something of 2,500 square feet that was new. And some of that involved everything before the site work. So we actually, it could have been in excess of that cost. So then we started talking about stick build. As we discussed the option of a traditionally built structure, we came up with the conclusion that it actually was just as costly, if not more. Though it would be better for the community because we'd be hiring local builders, local contractors, local vendors. The average square foot pricing still came out to $300 to $400 per square foot. While all this was happening, Cole Hall began to face issues that have been going on for years, but it really came to a head. There were several electrical fires in the downstairs. The mold issues became, I guess, untenable for members of the staff. And at that time, 2 members had to be moved into the parking lot of the building because it was not a workable space. So this is sort of where we were. So I'm going to move to the recommendation. The recommendation is in advance of the rationale behind the recommendation, but I think it's best that you all know what we want you to know is our advice in advance of me telling you why. So here's the recommendation. Next slide.
It's not okay.
Yeah, next slide. You're great.
I'm trying.
We all are. Oh. There we go. Okay. So the recommendation of the Community Center Development Committee is that the town acquires the former Shaftesbury Medical Associates building, which is located at 677 Route 7A, as town offices for the town of Shaftesbury. The other thing that we want to talk about, which isn't really the purview of this meeting, but would be an ongoing conversation in the future for you all to discuss and decide amongst yourselves, would be the community discussion of potential restoration of Cole Hall for use as a community center. We've kind of looked into some options for this, which isn't really, once again, the purview of this committee, but it would be involving sort of like grants and money from things like the Vermont Preservation Trust, other kind of private monies to make that happen. But tonight we're here to talk about the acquisition of this building at 677 Route 7A as town offices to better serve the community, because we're in a space where we really need that. So here's our rationale. Next slide. So the number one reason that we think that buying this building is a good idea is because we believe that it's the most fiscally responsible decision to have town offices for the town of Shaftesbury for not just the immediate, but also the foreseeable future. So this building beats all of our other options. New construction options, as I mentioned, priced around $1.5 million or more for a 2,500 square foot space that was just for a community center and did not even encompass town offices. So then we started trying to price that out, and it was way too crazy. So the former Shaftesbury Medical Associates building is $375,000 plus moving costs, which is what is on the ballot tonight. Touching back on Cole Hall issues, it's become apparent, and it's not opinion, but fact, that it is no longer viable as a town office for Shaftesbury at this time, and that any remediation to make it as such would be costly and time intensive, so we couldn't get them back in there even if we were trying to on a tight timeline. The water damage has caused significant mold, electrical fire, so there's a lot that needs to be done there. In addition to that, the repairs go on. And there are also not enough space for the growing needs of the town, which are dictated by the state and the federal government in terms of management and document keeping requirements, which are outside of all of our hands. So moving on to the building features. Shaftesbury Medical Associates is ADA compliant. There's ample space for offices and a larger vault for future needs. There's room for a community space, both indoor and outdoor. There's a big front room, and there's also a side area. So we could use this space immediately for town offices, as well as some of our earlier proposals for what a community center could meet. So this is sort of like a 2-in-1 special right now. It's also spacious enough to house the town vote, which we know Marlene is very excited about. Second slide of rationale. There's a lot of efficiency here. The new structure is more efficient than Cole Hall. Unsurprising, Cole Hall is very, very old. I'm sure many of us, including myself, live in structures that are more than 150 years old. That is a big ask. This structure is a lot newer. It can support green energy measures in the future, including EV chargers, solar array, perhaps on the roof, which is south-facing, very beautiful, and more. The location, the 7A location is central. It creates a sense of a downtown. It will make Shaftesbury more apparent to drivers. I've heard a lot of people talk about this being a stop through town. This is something that would make this more apparent to other people that this is a place, and it is a place, it's very important. And this is a place in which, if we had this nice sign, people would see us. This would also create foot traffic between offices, the market, and the eventual community center, or not, and the town green. Services, this can serve, as I already mentioned, clinics, foot, eye, mental health, as well as a warming kitchen. We'll touch on this super briefly because we've already gone here before, but Cole Hall has a serious water issue. There's a mold problem, you've heard me talk about it. So getting it to code and also getting it above code would be, honestly, at even the pricing we've received so far, cost prohibitive in excess of what we're receiving quotes for to move into this new structure. Cole Hall is not accessible for many members of our community. The outside steps are not to code. I would gesture that none of it is to code. The indoor lift is not accessible. The downstairs entrance is a challenge. If any of you have any mobility issues, I'm sure you're aware. And then the repair cost, which we mentioned before, is exorbitant. It's like very high. The cost of fixing these issues and more just meet and go above the budget of the town at this time. So a little bit of fact about the building we're talking about. Next slide. Sorry, I didn't do this much. It's a 4,400 square foot building, 4,413. It has an 800 square foot basement in addition to that. It's ADA compliant, complete with automatic doors. It's all on one floor, so our residents could actually just enter and travel throughout, whether that be to the front meeting room, which has a fireplace, I know we all love that. And it also has multiple spaces for offices for townspeople. It has little places for us to have clinics. It has a lot of things going on. It was built in 1978, which I know to all of us sounds very, very new, as someone living in an 1873 build. No, 1823, excuse me. They're parking for 44 vehicles in a paved lot, which does need some repair, but at this time it's certainly, it's pretty good. It shares a 2-acre lot with the attached dental office, which will continue. They know about this, we talked to them about it, they like the idea, they would be friendly neighbors, and they would remain in their offices at this time. Shares I read that. Condominium sits at 70-30 split with the dental office and their shared common costs, which is like plowing, the septic being empty, whatever. Okay. It's hard to be unprofessional. Inspections completed. So we had a lot of inspections done as part of due diligence because we know that this is a big deal and we respect everybody's time and energy here. So we had a building inspection, septic inspection, state fire inspection, environmental inspection. Well, we had environmental inspection 1, but we're going to have number 2 as well because that will make the building qualified for grants. But building inspection 1 went really well for environmental. Alarm system, it's fine. Mold, it's fine. Mechanical, it's fine. Electrical, it's fine. There are copies of these building inspections available to you, I think at the front table where you entered, if you'd like to take a look. So we're going to move to the motion tonight. So you're going to vote tonight on shall the town of Shasberry expend $375,000 on the purchase of the former Shasberry Medical Associates building at 677 Route 7A, Shasberry, and an additional $178,486.08 on the renovation or repair needed to make the building appropriate for municipal offices. So in one moment, I'm going to turn this over to Ben, who's going to talk to you kind of about what that would mean. He's going to talk to you about the building itself and what those repairs and moving costs literally are, make them less sort of ambiguous. And I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is a drawing he did. Ben is our citizen architect for what this building might look like. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. We appreciate your opinion. And thank you all for joining us here tonight.
Next slide.
So could you put up the plan? Yeah.
There are copies of this also.
Okay. So I'm Ben Benedict. When the Community Center Development Committee evaluated the Shasberry Medical Building as possible town offices, we tried to take an objective look at the building itself. So I'm going to go over the facts of the building. It's located in the village with a sign on Route 7A. The driveway leads back to a 2-acre lot next to the cemetery with parking for 44 vehicles. The building and property is a condominium, 70% Shasberry Medical, 30% Shasberry Dental Center. Built in 1978 for Doctors Arthur and Elizabeth Ferris, the Shasberry Medical Building portion contains 4,413 square feet on one accessible floor with an 850 square foot basement under the northern section. The rest of the building is built on a slab on grade. Structure is a combination of wood post and beam construction and exterior fiberglass insulated 2x6 framed walls. The interior walls are 2x4 wood framed. The insulated roofs are a combination of composition shingled high-pitch shed roofs, shingled low-pitch roofs, and flat membrane roofs. There are 8 skylights in the shed roofs, 5 in the entry porch and entry, and 1 in the flat roofed office area. Inside, the building is mostly carpeted with vinyl flooring and quarry tile in some areas. Walls throughout are sheetrocked, as is the ceiling in the waiting room, the halls, the kitchenette, and the full-height ceilings in 4 offices at the ends of the south and west halls. The 8 exam rooms and the offices, break room, and procedure room in the northern section over the basement have hung ceilings. Lights in the hard ceilings are primarily recessed downlights, and in the hung ceilings, 2x4 fluorescent troffers. Medical condominiums utilities consist of town water, 200 amp underground service, and a shared on-site septic system. Heat and air conditioning are supplied by 4 propane electric rooftop units. There are 3 bathrooms, none strictly speaking fully handicap accessible, 2 kitchenettes, sink and cabinets in a procedure room, and sinks in 8 exam rooms. The almost 50-year-old building has been reasonably well cared for. The site is bright and airy, even serene. It's an easy walk through the village to the store, post office, and school. The lawn and trees are attractive and the sidewalks solid. The asphalt paving is functional, but starting to show signs of age. The exterior of the building is in relatively good shape. The composition shingles on the medical building roof are stained and worn, but no leaks have been reported. The dental center has replaced its roofs recently. Roof replacement budget $20,000 is included in the suggested list of tasks before occupancy. The skylights too will need replacement at some point, but that has not been flagged as an immediate priority. The painted exterior siding and trim are in reasonably good repair with some normal exceptions. The 4 HVAC units on the roof appear to be 1998 vintage, which would put them towards the end of their useful life. But by all accounts, they're functioning adequately. New equipment would mean an upgrade in reliability and efficiency, but that upgrade, budget $16,000 per unit, looks like it can wait for now. There are supplementary electric heaters in most of the current exam rooms, which appear to be largely unused. The monthly electric cost for the building, based on its daily use a couple of years ago, would be $500 to $600 at current prices. This would cover lighting and air conditioning. Annual cost for heating look like about $6,500 at current propane prices. The interior of the building is dated, the carpet needs replacing, every room needs repainting before move-in, and there are other small projects to accommodate a change in use, including making one bathroom fully handicapped accessible. Some windows need repair and new glass. Phased window replacement should be on the list of future projects. In order to make a 400 square foot town clerk's office, some walls would have to be removed and ceilings replaced. The same is true for a vault space. There is ongoing investigation into the requirements for the vault and its funding, so its cost and exact specifications have been removed from these calculations. It's shown on the proposed plan that's up on the screen at 270 usable square feet adjacent to the town clerk's office. The remainder of the building could include a reception area, a generous 570 square foot skylit community space with fireplace, a 300 square foot work area, kitchenette, small break room, 3 baths, 4 large offices, 2 small offices, and 2 large undesignated spaces. Purchase price of Shasberry Medical stands at $375,000, or about $85 per square foot. Even with the addition of the move-in costs noted, budgeted at $150,000, the square foot cost would creep up to around $120 a square foot, about half the current minimum cost of building new. Moving the town offices to the Shasberry Medical Building is an unusual opportunity to solve a dire present need and a foreseen future need for a very reasonable cost.
That's it?
That's it.
The next
Okay.
slide just says questions, but let's hit the
Nope.
next slide.
No questions yet?
Not yet.
You're done with the presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
break time.
Yep. Got 2 or 3 minutes. Stand up, stretch your legs. We'll take a break. There's water over here as well as energy bars. And I would ask, please bear with me, you can discuss amongst yourselves, but please don't discuss with any panel members what's going on. The reason is that whatever you've got to say, I want to make sure that when you're talking with them, everybody's hearing it, because it's important that we're all in on this. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can we just continue instead of taking a break?
No, we're going to take a break for just a minute. Just stretch your legs, please.
Just like 2 minutes.
Like 2 minutes. I think we're all set to get back to our seats and reconvene for the substantial part. Robert's rules says 10 minutes. A lot of times I use 3 minutes. Let's just see what happens. Okay, thank you. Yeah. No, that's still on the floor. It's on the floor now.
Oh, so we don't have
No, we're going to vote on it at the end. We're gonna-
Oh, the motion is this.
Yeah, the motion was this here.
Got it.
Yep, the motion.
No,
Okay,
it's fine.
so now we're gonna debate it and, yeah, questions, all that, and then somebody's gonna, somebody.
I just have
Okay, we're all set to go again now. We've got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Presentation by the Select Board has been made. We'll open up the floor now for questions, comments, discussions, debate. Who wants to go first?
I will.
Can you come up to the microphone and state your name, please, for the record?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Baki. I am on the Energy Committee. I'm on the Economic Development Committee. And I'm also the chair of the Vermont State Rehabilitation Council, which governs Higher Ability Vermont. Higher Ability Vermont is the former Oak Rehab, which helps Vermonters find work, Vermonters that have disabilities find work. So I'm an advocate for disabilities because I also have a disability. I want to say, as a disability advocate, I am excited about the potential purchase of the new building, as it being a former medical building and ADA compliant. Right now, people with disabilities are in the news, and there's a target against people with disabilities because, unfortunately, some people in our government right now are blaming plane crashes and other things on people with disabilities. And that's really depressing and disappointing. And I want to say that Shaftesbury, a few years ago, I believe, signed on the dotted line that we would be an inclusive town. I don't remember the name of the actual information, but somebody could help me at some point in the future. And to be inclusive means accessibility. And accessibility is not just for our staff that work for Shaftesbury, but it's our residents and it's our visitors. And we have a large population that's over the age of 64. And we want to be inclusive. I'm sorry, I was speaking to Julie, what was that? Oh, yes, absolutely. I also have mobility issues. I might not look like it to you, but we have lots of invisible disabilities that exist. And I think it would be really important to have this new building accessible for all of us. And also when I think about young people moving to the town, because we want to make that happen too, we want to have people of all ages, I think about what are things that everybody feels good about, and I think it's accessibility and inclusivity. So I am in favor of this new building. There's also mold in Cole Hall right now, and as much as I love Cole Hall, I love its history, I love Shaftesbury, I think it's really important that we have a safe place for the town's staff, visitors, residents, and safety really should be the #1 issue, to be honest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Judge McClintock?
Could I ask some short questions for short answers?
Certainly, yes.
The budget's been published. It's coming up in 3 weeks. Is the money that we're voting on now in addition to the money that's within the budget? And will this change the rate, the tax rate that you're going to need to request?
Okay, I'll take the first stab at that, and then I'll pass it to Paul. Okay. Lon, it's not included in the budget, and it will not increase the rate.
Because the funds-
it is from the budget surplus that was created by the moving of the ARPA money.
Okay. Is there any plan for the fact that best estimates sometimes don't work out and you may need additional funds to complete the move-in?
Since I didn't pass the first one to Paula, I'll pass this one to her.
Hi, hopefully you can hear me. Up a little bit, thank you. I'm not a rock star, sorry. That's always a possibility, but we try to go on the high side and to have that number a little higher and hope, you know, everyone grabs a paintbrush at some point and maybe collaborate, come help if we get the building. If you have things that you know how to do in the trades, we're welcoming the help. You certainly don't have to, but we will do anything we can to keep the costs down, including looking at grants. And yeah, we're going to keep it as low as possible.
Is the basement accessible?
The basement is accessible by stairs. We're thinking that would be a really
It's not
good-
handicapped accessible?
It's not handicap accessible. It wouldn't be anything for the public. We would mainly keep office supplies in there, which right now we're keeping in the Cole Hall bathroom. So that would be an improvement.
So you have no, as I understand it, you have no cost for the vault? You have no estimate for the vault?
We have a general estimate for a vault, but we're still working on how big it needs to be because the information from the state gets updated all the time, and there's so much now that can be digitized. So we want to make really sure of what we can have digitally, what we can put in archives, and what we absolutely have to have in the vault. And that will determine the cost. And again, I think the cost that we got, we're trying to estimate the biggest, hoping it will get smaller.
And what was that cost?
I think it was $110,000.
And where will that money come from?
Some of it will come from the leftover that we have from the renovation, and the rest of it we'll be looking at grants. We'll be leaving no stone unturned.
Okay, and how much is going to be left over from the ARPA money that's available for the vault?
It depends on how, Ben, how much did you say did you say? About 28,000. So if it's 110,000, 28, say 30,000 toward it.
So 1 or 2 cents on the tax roll if we need general funds.
And
Okay.
again, there are so many good grants that come down the pike. I'm a Shaftesbury taxpayer too. I live in this town. Believe me, I want it to be as...
I do want to make
there are
one
probably state funds, too.
comment to wrap this up, which is the Eternal Optimist talks about grants. And for my time on the select board, Karen Mellinger was a real hustler when it came to grants. And as much as she hustled and got sidewalks and other things built, we could not ever get the type of grant that was going to deal with Cole Hall's structural and integrity issues. So if people vote in favor of this, frankly, I think Cole Hall has come to the end of its useful life. The notion that it's going to become a community center is no longer realistic because we're being told tonight to do the renovations that are required are not physically possible. The committee could have considered augmenting the ARPA money with a bond, but the committee shock and the board shock about the overall price suggests to me that it'd be, maybe it's too harsh a word, but a bit disingenuous to say there's a future for Cole Hall after we do this. Does that mean that this proposal doesn't have merit? I'm not suggesting that. I'm just suggesting realistically, the use of Cole Hall is coming to an end.
I would like to respond
Thank you,
to
Your
that
Honor.
briefly. And I just, I want to assure people that, as Zoe said in her presentation, our intention is to turn the decision about Cole Hall over to the public in whatever variety of forums we can devise for that decision to be made. But what we want to do first is to really do due diligence in terms of finding out what kinds of grants could be available, what other alternatives there are for that building. In other words, some people in town think it should be given away, for example. Is that possible? Right? We really want to know all the possible facts in a very realistic way, and to be able to present them to people and then open the conversation about what to do next. What we know for sure is that there is no way we could possibly have leveraged the ARPA money in any way that would have brought us to making Cole Hall accessible and usable as municipal offices. Would you like to speak?
I'm just going to add
please.
one
Yep.
comment to that as well. Cole Hall sits on the Vermont Registry for Historic Buildings, and therefore has specific guidelines and procedures that have to be done for us to maintain the building and to maintain its historic integrity. And so in looking at that, and I think the CCDC have worked on kind of talking with historic preservationists with state and others, that we are still gathering a lot of information as to kind of what could or could not be done with the building, and then we will certainly bring that out to the community. We want this to be a community discussion because it is a place that many of us have very happy memories. Some of us went to school there. It was a dance hall. It's been so many things over the time, and so it is not that we are closing off this door at all, but that there's more to come.
Thank you. I saw a hand back here. Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is Mike Harrington, Ken Harrington's son. Been a resident my whole life, going on 56 years now. I actually had a hand in building that building. There was an addition done in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe. The medical building, obviously, not Cole Hall. I don't hold my age that well. But Art Carlucci did the building, we did the digging, we did the septic. It was pretty cool. It's a good memory. I think it's a great idea to move us over there. Having been a patient with the Ferrises and Dr. King my whole life, I'm familiar with the building. I think it'll work great for us. My main concern, can we or do we have some sort of backup plan in case these ARPA funds disappear? We've got a very unstable government right now, to say the least.
I can reassure you about that. We no longer have any ARPA funds. We have a budget surplus.
Excellent.
Yeah.
My only concern?
It was a really good concern.
It's, yeah,
And
very
along with
valid.
other towns, we took care of that.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Karen?
Karen Mellinger. So I had a couple of questions about Cole Hall. We do all love it. We know it has grave issues. If, you know, just to play it out, because if we vote for this evening, we're making a commitment as a town that our town services will be moved. I don't know what the timing would look like. Have you all figured that out if you get a yay vote today? When might that happen?
I would estimate within months, but I don't know how many because I wouldn't feel comfortable moving there until the vault's in.
Okay.
And
So we
has the
would,
offices.
so we don't have $100,000 in the budget, I'm assuming, for the vault. So would you be looking for a vote on town meeting night? Would you be looking for motions from the floor that we increase the budget by $100,000 to cover the vault? Would we need to do that?
Yeah, I don't think we're ready to do that.
Okay.
We're not ready to.
Do we still have a coal hall fund?
We do, yeah.
Okay, so if we're, by the summer, moving into this building, do we still heat Coal Hall? You know, we were paying, what do we pay for heating Coal Hall every year? $6,000?
About that, yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at $6,500 on the new place, and more on the electrical maybe than what we're paying for Coal Hall. So how long, that's budgeted, I'm assuming? You've budgeted for all of that?
We kind of looked at that when we did the 26 budget because we even removed, Coal Hall, the heading, and just wrote municipal offices because we didn't know which building. So we kept the new building in mind when we were making the fiscal year 26 budget. So,
Okay.
to estimate to the
So I
best of
guess,
our ability.
what, I'm just wondering if again, if we get a yay tonight, if you, as a board, are going to be looking at additional expenses to keep Coal Hall for a certain period of time, and either we're going to be running a deficit, or you might need the town to increase the budget on town meeting night. The other question I had, somebody said maybe give Coal Hall away, or, whatever happens to Coal Hall. Now, I know we expended some of the ARPA money to buy a building that we removed. I think maybe purchase the Peter Cross lot and remove, what was there. So how much of that property is wrapped up legally with Coal Hall? So if we get rid of Coal Hall, what happens to that property that we've just put, how much, $600,000 into?
I'm sorry, with the passing of the mic, I missed just the last phrase. $7,000.
No. I'm wondering what happens to the property if we eliminate the use of Coal Hall. Then what happens to that property that we've spent half of the ARPA money on?
Okay, so the plan as of now, although this is in the hand, this is the future of the Community Center Development Committee's work, is to make those kinds of decisions, but the overall plan is to put a town green in the old Paul Cross lot, as we had planned originally, and a pavilion perhaps. And we are in the preliminary stages of conversations with Shires Housing in its new form, with Rutland Housing Works, about purchasing from us the lot right behind Coal Hall that we purchased and took down the house on, for construction of workforce and/or senior housing.
Okay, so that, how much acreage is there? And how much is actually owned by the Coal Hall building? If we decided not to use Coal Hall, you said give it away. But if
I wasn't really suggesting that.
No,
I was
but
saying that there have been
I just didn't know how that property
There
is
are
divided
currently
up.
3 lots.
Okay.
That are still 3 lots. There is the Coal Hall lot, there is the Town Green lot, and there is the lot, which is 41, 42 Buck Hill Road, that had
The old house.
on it.
Yeah.
And that is the area and lot that is in very early stages of discussion about becoming kind of a workforce housing area.
Okay, and that would be a vote, I assume, that would come to the townspeople. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Somebody over on this side. Yes, sir.
Hi, John Tiffany. I live out in Shasbury Hollow. I've been in the assessing world since 2007. The first thing people ask me when I visit them to put a new assessment on their house is, what's this going to do to my tax rate? And it's on a daily basis. So I'm asking, what's this going to do to the tax rate? Because you're taking a $500,000 property off the grand list. You've already taken one or two, I believe it's two other properties off the grand list. And you're adding all kinds of expenses to the town budget. And this is based on 128 people that answered the questionnaire for the community center. I was one of the answerees, and my vote was no. And I know several others that also voted no.
Okay, so your question is, what is this going to do to the tax rate?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody want to weigh in on that? I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Paul?
Because most of this will be those, leftover ARPA funds, which are no longer ARPA funds.
Hold it up.
Oh, sorry. Because most of the funds and expenses will be those leftover ARPA funds that the federal strings have been cut on, it will do nothing to the tax rate. The only thing that I can imagine doing a little bit to the tax rate would be the vault, but we'd have to get one of those anyway. It's a budget surplus. This money, this ARPA money, was not raised by taxes. It was from the federal government.
That's for the purchase of the property.
And
for the
renovations.
renovations.
Yeah.
But you're also taking a $500,000 property off of the grand list.
You want to pass?
And you are adding
There's more being added to the
on all
grand
of the
list.
expenses.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. We've asked these questions as well.
Yeah, we have asked these questions as well. The tax that we are losing from the potential purchase of the medical center, I believe, is $4,000 a year. Is that correct? And math is not my big strong suit, but I don't imagine that's a lot on the dollar. The other two were taken off some time ago, and we haven't looked at that. Does anybody remember telling me who might fund?
And if we sell one of the properties back to the Shire's housing, then it will come back online in some way as part of our
At a
tax.
reduced rate.
I'm sorry?
At a reduced rate. At a reduced rate. Automatically 30% gets taken off the top by the state.
I think the general economic development perspective on that is that an increase in affordable housing in the area is good for the economy in general. And that's something about which there's a difference of opinion. But that's the approach that this select board has taken for several years as we've been moving through the process of acquiring those properties. Yes, Martin. You've got a mic down there.
Our new assessors clerk, who's been in the job a couple of years now, has found over $5 million in assessments that weren't being assessed before. So the $500,000 is a wash.
It's not going to be a wash. You're doing a reappraisal right now.
We'll start.
Yes. Everybody's property is going to be going up minimum 60%. At a minimum.
But you're still, the tax rate will go down.
But you're spending more. And what also is happening is, as properties are being sold, people are being, and reassessments are being done, and tax rates are going up. More and more people are doing less maintenance to their houses because they have more expenses. And they have, one of the expenses is taxes.
the $5 million in assessments that was just found, they'll go up as well with the reassessment. Those were assessments based on 10 years ago.
No,
So it should wash out.
it's not going to wash. You'll see. This is what I do for a living. But one of the other things I wanted to I guess I covered this already. Oh, plus, there's all this, there's going to be increases in budgets because your waylaying repairs that are needed to the medical center. So that's even more money that's going to be added to the budget. Expenses.
I think the thing about that is that there's always ongoing repairs in any building.
But you're buying a used building that, it's like buying a used car and then having to put money into the car.
Cole Hall's a brand new one, right?
Which is another question. There was a study done to see what was needed to be done to Cole Hall. And there was an outline of how to address the needs. Where did that go?
I'm sorry. There was a study done and
Of what was needed to bring Cole Hall up to snuff, to take care of the problems there.
Are you referring to the 2012?
No. This was done recently. Within the last 5 years.
Goldstone.
The Goldstone.
When you guys first got the ARPA funds.
Goldstone. Yeah, you want to, Zoe actually has
I don't
that.
have the numbers,
This is an insufficient answer to your question. I'm going to open with that. So there was some budgetary documentation put together by Goldstone, architecture firm, which is based, I think, in Bennington. What's his name, Jeff? John? I don't know. So there were a couple of quotes put together, but as far as I'm aware, they were just quotes to make the space ADA compliant. So they didn't involve. You're shaking your head no. Do you have other information? I love more information. I welcome it. What do you have?
I will find out the information.
That would be awesome. I love that.
I was told this today by somebody who was very closely involved with the process.
That would be awesome. We love more information. So if you could send that to us via email, that would be awesome. Paula is at administrator@shaftesbury.gov. So what we have are like just 2 quotes about how to make the space ADA compliant. All we want is more info, not less, obviously. But the 2 quotes that we have are pretty exorbitant. And one is to like put in an elevator to make the space accessible to the entire community. And the other one is to modify the entrance for people to enter. But if you have more information, we would love and welcome that, and we appreciate your time. So thank you.
Yeah. One last question is why was there never like a tax annex thought made to the building?
An attached annex?
Yes.
That's why we had Ben come on the committee, because Benedict was actually the architect who years ago did the drawing. Weren't you did the drawings?
No, but he was part of the committee.
The committee.
Firm that did it, and the Bennington firm did it.
Anything having to do with Cole Hall at this point, and the Goldstone plans that I do have the documents in the computer, and looking over them, they're 5 years old. In these economic times, 5 years was a long time ago in terms of dollars. And it's already, anything having to do with Cole Hall, it's like every road we go down, there's a roadblock. Oh my God, it's $1 million, it's $1 million, it's 100,000 here, and the windows each are $20,000. So as far as Cole Hall does, it's sort of like the next chunk of the puzzle, and we have to do our due diligence. We do love the building. We're heartbroken that it's like, it's beautiful, but it's not functional anymore as a town hall. This Friday, I have a representative coming from the Vermont Preservation Trust to look at the building and see if it's a candidate for their program. And if it is, then the next step would be them doing a full building assessment, top to bottom, with the Vermont historical preservation people because we're under those guidelines. We can't just like fix it up. We have to fix it up according to Vermont historical guidelines. And I hope we're a candidate because then they give us an up-to-date building assessment and say, not only are these the things that you have to do to Cole Hall to bring it back to what it was or make it a community center or something, but they put them in priority order for us and then give us an approximate price tag. So a month from now, we're going to know a lot more about that. And right now, it's not really conducive to do anything to that building to make it what it should be if the town decides to do that with us bumping around in it. It's sort of like this has to come first and then figure out what to do with that building.
I was on the select board between 2002 and 2005. That board set up the Cole Hall Fund. We also replaced, or had work done to the roof. It's a slate roof. We had work done to it to tighten it down. Nobody has done basically anything to it since as far as taking into consideration of needing to restore the place.
Yeah.
Town garage was
We're considering it. We're considering it.
The town garage could have waited. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Jen, do you still
Do you want to say something? Go for it.
I would just say that any addition or remediation at Cole Hall to make it reasonable town offices was far in excess of the cost of moving to the Shaftesbury Medical Building.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Carlin Mickle. I moved here just short of 2 years ago with my family from Colorado. We've got one little one and another on the way. And I have to say that one of the reasons we moved here is that we did find the town relatively affordable comparatively. And one of the huge drawbacks and something that really concerned us about moving here was that there was no place for children. We don't have, I know we have an elementary school and there's the schools, but outside of that, there's nothing. I take my kid to Manchester, to Bennington, and as far away as Rutland, to do everything, actually, except for our pediatrician. Our pediatrician's in Bennington. And so having a place where I can bring my child to hang out with the other parents, to meet our community, to actually be involved at that level is incredibly important, and for new families is actually a make or break. Having a couple kids, we're strongly wondering what it looks like in a few years for our children if we have to continue to drive 30, 40, 50 minutes to access anything for them. So, when I see this town and I see houses on the market and I see a workforce that's needed to be built, probably by young people my age, give or take, right? I think it's vitally important that we have a space that has these community centers and town hall and all of it kind of in one. That's actually a huge draw for us. Because then I don't have to take my kid in and out of cars and car seats and this, and having that accessibility means that we can go have lunch, enjoy our town, contribute financially to these spaces, and also get our plans for our new deck. And then also go to a play group or whatever. And that could potentially be all in one trip to one space. So when I see, I hear the concern about taxes and this, but having more people on board in our town to build it is going to offset all of those pieces and is going to support and bring more income and more revenue and more businesses. And I would like to see it grow a little bit. We don't necessarily, we didn't move here because we wanted to live in a city, but we did move here with the expectation of community. And I think that this offers something that staying at Cole Hall certainly does not. And that's a centralized location and potentially like a more centralized, vibrant looking town. And I think that those things are literally so important to younger families that it would mean moving or not moving out of this town. And so I think that's something to consider in terms of like our future as a community. Thanks.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Hoffman. I want to thank all of you for putting your time and effort into the presentation tonight and the weekly meetings. I mean, this is not an easy lift, and you're all just volunteers, so thank you. I am fully in favor of the move. There's a term in real estate called functional obsolescence, and Cole Hall has reached that point. I'm married to a builder. I have done new construction myself. The fact that you're able to think about moving into that new space for $125 per square foot, you would never have any other options anywhere close to that. $400 a square foot is the going rate for new construction, even for a remodel. So I think it's a fantastic idea. I also love the green space that it offers. I think it's amazing that you're able to have a space for safe, clean, healthy town office space, plus the community space all rolled into one. I also am really excited to see what the potential is for the future reuse or sale or giving away, whatever that might look like, of Cole Hall and the other spaces that have been more recently acquired. We may find that we don't need any of those spaces. I get that that was part of the vision when we were going to stay in Cole Hall, but maybe now going down door number 2, maybe all those spaces get resold to some other developer, and then that adds money back into the town of Shasbury's surplus funds. I also think that nobody has mentioned the cost to all of our staff in terms of the time and effort that they have had to spend thinking about the safety of where they are working and the time and effort it takes to move in and out of different office spaces. We've just been throwing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the Cole Hall, and a vote of yes stops that, where we can say the bleeding is done, we're going to move into a nice, clean, healthy space where our staff is no longer having to think about their health and safety and they can just do their jobs. So I'm all about efficiency, and that seems to make the most sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, we've got
a call to question, Tom.
Sorry, I got to call the question? Do I have a second? That means cease debate and vote. Okay. One moment, just a second. We've got a pending motion that's been on the floor, that's been seconded. We've had somebody call a question, which has been seconded. Are you all ready to vote? Anybody real unhappy if we vote on it? Okay. All right, we've got a motion on the floor. Shall the town of Shasbury expend $375,000 on the purchase of the former Shasbury Medical Associates building at 677 Route 7A, Shasbury, and an additional $178,486.08 on the renovation and repair needed to make the building appropriate for municipal offices? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And it is so ordered. Yeah, I would, okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Made and seconded. All in favor? Thank you all for coming this evening.
Thank you so much for coming. If everybody can just leave the seats where they are, we have a little bit that we need to do. Please take some cookies if you'd like. We appreciate everybody coming out this evening. Thank you so much.